In the year 3027, the intergalactic battleship Stellar Tempest drifted in the ominous silence of the Fathorian Nebula, a place where even light seemed to hesitate before venturing through its gaseous expanse. The ship's crew, a hodgepodge of beings from across the galaxy, were locked in a desperate struggle against the Drakulons, a synthetic race with a penchant for obliteration and a mastery of adaptive combat strategies. The Drakulon's ships, sleek and menacing, had encircled the Stellar Tempest like wolves around a wounded prey. Amidst this chaos stood Lieutenant Jack Morrigan, an Earth-born pilot whose presence on the ship was as much a curiosity as it was a last resort. Humans, it seemed, were better known for their stubbornness and penchant for strange cultural practices than for any prowess in space warfare. Jack himself was a testament to this perception, often found tinkering with outdated technology or regaling his crewmates with tales of Earth's history that seemed more myth than fact. The bridge of the Stellar Tempest was a cacophony of alarms and flashing lights, each one a reminder of their precarious situation. The ship's commanding officer, a towering Vixorian named Commander Thalex, lay unconscious, a casualty of a stray blast that had rocked the ship moments before. With the main systems offline and the chain of command in disarray, the crew's morale teetered on the edge of despair. Lieutenant Morrigan, a voice called out, heavy with skepticism and the slightest tinge of desperation. It belonged to T-Core, a reptilian strategist whose scales shimmered with stress-induced hues. "Surely you have some primitive Earth trick up your sleeve." Jack, who had been monitoring the situation from the sidelines, stepped forward. "Funny you should mention that, T-Core. I've got just the thing." His words were met with a chorus of disbelief. Jack wasn't offended. He was used to the crew's bemusement at his human eccentricities, but this time he had something more than just a wild story. He had a plan. "I'm going to need the controls," Jack announced, his tone a mix of confidence and urgency. The room fell silent, the crew exchanging glances that spoke volumes. They were out of options, and Jack's offer, ridiculous as it seemed, was the only one on the table. "Are you certain?" T-Core asked, his skepticism giving way to a cautious hope. Jack nodded. "Trust me. It's time to show these Drakulons what a little Earth ingenuity can do." With a reluctant nod, T-Core motioned for the crew to make way. Jack approached the central console, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. He knew the stakes. The Stellar Tempest was on the brink of destruction, and its survival rested on his shoulders. As he took the controls, Jack drew on lessons learned from countless hours spent in flight simulators and history books back on Earth. He recalled the daring maneuvers of ancient aviators, those pioneers who had defied the odds with nothing but their wits and a flimsy craft. In the vastness of space, he would channel their spirit and unleash a strategy so old it was new again. The crew watched with bated breath as Jack prepared to execute his plan. In that moment, the fate of the Stellar Tempest and its crew hinged on the unlikeliest of heroes, a human pilot with a penchant for the improbable. The Stellar Tempest shuddered as Jack Morrigan's hands danced across the controls, his mind racing through maneuvers that had once been executed under blue skies and within the confines of Earth's atmosphere. The Drakulons, with their sleek vessels and precise algorithms, were unprepared for the erratic and seemingly chaotic tactics Jack intended to employ. The crew, a diverse assembly of beings with varied skills and backgrounds, watched with a mix of skepticism and hope. They had seen Jack's antics before, his endless tinkering with obsolete technology and his fondness for recounting Earth's history, but never had they imagined those quirks would become their lifeline. As Jack engaged the ship's thrusters, the Stellar Tempest lurched forward, its trajectory as unpredictable as a leaf caught in a whirlwind. The Drakulons, accustomed to foes that followed logical patterns, struggled to adapt to this new, bizarre threat. Their ships, designed to counter precision with precision, faltered in the face of Jack's erratic maneuvers. "What's he doing?" muttered K-Rill, a cephalopodic engineer whose tentacles twitched nervously. "Something." Human T-Core replied, unable to mask the awe creeping into his voice, "and possibly brilliant." Jack's strategy was simple in its madness to mimic the dogfighting tactics of ancient Earth pilots, weaving and rolling the Stellar Tempest in ways that defied the Drakulon's predictive algorithms. It was a dance of chaos, each movement calculated to unsettle and confuse. As the Stellar Tempest twisted through space, Jack's hands guided the ship with an instinct honed from countless simulations and a deep-seated belief in the impossible. He pushed the ship to its limits, sending it into spirals and loops that left even the most seasoned crew members gripping their seats. The Drakulons, unable to predict or counter the erratic movements, found themselves caught off guard. Their ships, once a coordinated swarm, now struggled to maintain formation. It was a testament to the rigidity of their programming, their inability to adapt to the unpredictable nature of human ingenuity. "Jack, if this is your idea of a plan, it's working," T-Core remarked, his voice tinged with newfound respect. Jack grinned, his focus unwavering. "Just wait. The best part is yet to come." The Stellar Tempest, under Jack's guidance, veered toward a nearby asteroid field, a chaotic expanse of debris and rock that had been avoided by both sides for its sheer danger. To the Drakulons, it was a death trap. To Jack, it was an opportunity. With a deft touch, he led the Stellar Tempest into the field, weaving between asteroids with a precision that belied the ship's size. The Drakulons, compelled by their programming to pursue, followed, their ships unable to match the nimbleness of Jack's maneuvers. As the Drakulon fleet entered the asteroid field, chaos ensued. Their ships, optimized for open-space combat, found themselves colliding with asteroids, their formations disintegrating under the relentless impacts. The Stellar Tempest, meanwhile, danced through the chaos, emerging on the other side with minimal damage. The bridge erupted in cheers as the crew realized the magnitude of what Jack had accomplished. Against all odds, they had turned the tide of battle, and the Drakulon fleet, once an unstoppable force, lay in ruins. Jack leaned back in his seat, the adrenaline coursing through him, a smile playing on his lips. He had done it. Against the skepticism of his peers and the overwhelming odds, he had proven that sometimes the most primitive of tactics could outwit the most advanced of foes. As the crew celebrated, Jack's gaze drifted to the vastness of space beyond the bridge. Humanity, once considered a primitive curiosity, had just made its mark on the galactic stage, and he couldn't help but wonder what other surprises they had in store for the universe. The aftermath of the battle left the Stellar Tempest floating quietly in the void, the remnants of the Drakulon fleet scattered like cosmic confetti across the Thorian nebula. The ship's crew, a kaleidoscope of life forms from across the galaxy, were still processing the magnitude of what had just transpired. Jack Morrigan, the human pilot whose unexpected heroics had saved them, was at the center of their collective attention. In the ship's mess hall, a makeshift celebration was unfolding. Officers and crew members alike gathered to toast their unlikely victory, their differences momentarily set aside in the face of shared relief. Jack, though not one to bask in the spotlight, found himself surrounded by curious crewmates eager to understand how he had transformed a seemingly doomed scenario into a triumphant escape. So Jack began Lara, a feline-like navigator whose curiosity was as sharp as her claws. "How did you come up with those maneuvers? I've never seen a ship move like that." Jack shrugged, a modest grin tugging at his lips. "It's all about thinking outside the box. Back on Earth, we had these old flight tactics, dogfighting they called it. The idea was to be unpredictable, to keep the enemy guessing. Turns out, it works pretty well in space too." Rill, the cephalopod engineer, chimed in, his tentacles gesturing animatedly. "But why did the Drakulons struggle so much with it? Aren't they supposed to be the most advanced strategists in the galaxy?" "Advanced, sure," Jack replied, "but sometimes advanced means rigid. They rely on algorithms and predictions. Throw something unexpected at them, and they get thrown off balance." The conversation swirled around Jack, a mix of admiration and disbelief. For many aboard the Stellar Tempest, humans were a curiosity, a species known more for their peculiarities than their martial prowess. Yet here was Jack, challenging those assumptions with every word. Meanwhile, T-Core observed the scene from a distance, his reptilian features inscrutable. The strategist had been among the most skeptical of Jack's abilities, yet now he found himself re-evaluating his understanding of human potential. Approaching Jack, he offered a nod of respect. "You've earned your place here," Jack T-Core said, his voice carrying a weight of sincerity. "I didn't think a human could teach us anything about war. I was wrong." Jack accepted the compliment with a nod, his expression thoughtful. "I appreciate that, T-Core. But it's not just about winning battles, it's about surviving, adapting. That's what humans do best." As the celebration continued, the ship's intercom crackled to life, a familiar yet groggy voice cutting through the revelry. Commander Thalax, having regained consciousness, was eager to address his crew. "Attention, crew of the Stellar Tempest," Thalax began, his tone a blend of authority and gratitude. "I've been briefed on our recent engagement, and I must commend each of you for your bravery. Lieutenant Morrigan, in particular, has demonstrated an extraordinary ability to adapt under pressure. His actions have not only saved this ship but have also opened new avenues for strategic exploration." The commander's words were met with applause, the crew's morale buoyed by the acknowledgement of their collective efforts. Jack, though uncomfortable with the attention, felt a sense of pride swell within him. He had proven something not just to the crew, but to himself. As the night wore on, the celebration slowly gave way to the quiet hum of the ship returning to its routine. Repairs needed to be made, systems restored, and plans laid for the journey ahead. Yet, amidst the mundane tasks of ship life, there lingered a newfound respect for the human pilot who had defied the odds. Jack, finding a moment of solitude, gazed out at the stars, the vast expanse of the galaxy stretching before him. He knew that this victory was just one of many challenges to come. But with it came the realization that humanity had a place in this vast, interconnected universe, a place forged not through power or technology, but through the simple, profound ability to adapt and surprise. As the Stellar Tempest continued its journey through the cosmos, Jack couldn't help but wonder what other surprises awaited them, and how humanity's unique perspective might continue to shape their path among the stars. The Stellar Tempest, now a symbol of unexpected triumph, resumed its course through the Fythorian Nebula. Repairs were underway, with the ship's diverse crew working diligently to restore the systems damaged in the recent skirmish. The atmosphere on board had shifted from one of impending doom to cautious optimism, and Lieutenant Jack Morrigan found himself navigating a new role as both pilot and unlikely hero. In the days that followed, Jack became an informal ambassador for humanity, his actions sparking curiosity among his alien crewmates. He was frequently approached by officers and engineers alike, each eager to glean insights into the peculiar mindset that had so effectively outmaneuvered the Drakulons. One afternoon, as Jack was running diagnostics on the ship's navigation systems, he was joined by Lara, the feline navigator. Her eyes glimmered with a mix of curiosity and mischief, and Jack couldn't help but smile at her approach. "Still trying to figure out how we did it, huh?" Jack asked, glancing up from his work. "More like figuring out how you think," Lara replied, her tail flicking playfully. "Your unpredictability is fascinating. We're used to precision, calculation. You humans seem to thrive on chaos." Jack chuckled. "Chaos is just another kind of order, depending on how you look at it. We've always had to improvise, make do with what we've got. It's in our nature." Lara tilted her head, considering his words. "Perhaps there's more to learn from humans than we realized. Your strategies might just give us an edge in future encounters." As they spoke, T-Core entered the room, his presence as commanding as ever. He had been observing Jack closely since the battle, and his respect for the human pilot had only grown. "Lieutenant Morrigan," T-Core began, his tone more formal than usual, "I've been reviewing the data from our engagement with the Drakulons. Your tactics were enlightening. I've proposed to Commander Thalax that we integrate some of your ideas into our training protocols." Jack raised an eyebrow, surprised by the suggestion. "You want to teach the crew how to think like humans?" In a manner of speaking, T-Core replied with a rare smile. Flexibility and unpredictability could be powerful tools in our arsenal. You've shown us that. The idea of alien beings learning from human history and tactics was both amusing and humbling to Jack. He nodded, understanding the potential impact of such an initiative. "I'd be happy to help," Jack said. "But remember, it's not just about the maneuvers, it's about mindset. Being willing to take risks, to embrace the unknown." T-Core nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Indeed, it's a lesson we would do well to learn." As the days turned into weeks, Jack found himself increasingly integrated into the ship's strategic discussions. His insights into human history and psychology became valuable assets, offering fresh perspectives on problems that had previously seemed insurmountable. The Stellar Tempest, once considered a relic of outdated tactics, became a testing ground for new ideas and strategies. Jack's influence was felt throughout the ship as crews adapted to a more dynamic way of thinking. The ship's systems were modified to allow for greater flexibility, and training simulations incorporated elements of unpredictability that had been absent before. Meanwhile, the galaxy at large had begun to take notice of the Stellar Tempest's unexpected victory. Reports of the battle spread, painting humanity in a new light. No longer merely a curiosity, humans were now seen as potential allies, their unique approach to problem-solving an asset in the ongoing struggle against the Drakulons. Jack, however, remained grounded, aware of the challenges that lay ahead. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Drakulons, though momentarily set back, would undoubtedly adapt and return with new strategies of their own. As the Stellar Tempest continued its journey, Jack pondered the future. He knew that the galaxy was vast and unpredictable, filled with wonders and dangers yet to be discovered. Humanity's place within it was still being defined, but he was confident that their adaptability and resilience would serve them well. In quiet moments, Jack would gaze out at the stars, contemplating the boundless possibilities that lay before them. The universe, in all its complexity, was a canvas waiting to be explored, and Jack was determined to see humanity's mark upon it grow ever brighter. As the Stellar Tempest glided through the vastness of space, its crew settled into a rhythm defined by newfound camaraderie and shared purpose. The ship was more than a vessel, it had become a symbol of resilience, its diverse crew bound together by an improbable victory that had reshaped their understanding of warfare and themselves. Lieutenant Jack Morrigan found his days filled with unexpected responsibilities. His role had expanded beyond that of a pilot. He was now a mentor and strategist, his human perspective invaluable to the ship's evolving tactical doctrines. His insights were sought not only by T-Core and the command staff but also by crew members eager to understand the unpredictable nature that had proven so effective against the Drakulons. One evening, as the ship cruised through a sector of space known for its breathtaking nebula, Jack found himself in the observation deck, the panoramic view offering a moment of tranquility. The swirling colors of the nebula painted the darkness with hues of blue and green, a celestial dance that seemed to mirror the complexity of the galaxy itself. He was joined by Vela, the ship's chief engineer, a petite and brilliant Arcturian whose curiosity about human technology had led to many late-night discussions. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Vela said, settling into the seat beside Jack. Her eyes, a vibrant shade of violet, reflected the nebula's glow. "Yeah," Jack replied, his gaze fixed on the stars. "It's easy to forget how small we are in the grand scheme of things." Vela nodded, her expression contemplative. "And yet, your actions have shown that even the smallest can have a significant impact. The crew talks about it all the time, how you turned the tide when we thought all was lost." Jack chuckled softly. "I just did what I could. Sometimes taking a step back from all the technology and complexity helps. Humans have always had to make do with less." Vela smiled, her admiration for Jack evident. "You've inspired us to look at things differently. I've been working on integrating some of your, gut instincts into our systems. It's a challenge, but I think it could give us an edge." Jack raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "How do you plan to do that?" Well, Vela began, her enthusiasm bubbling over. We're developing algorithms that allow for more intuitive responses, less reliance on pure logic. It's about creating a system that can adapt on the fly, much like you did. The idea fascinated Jack, the prospect of blending human intuition with advanced technology, a tantalizing possibility. That sounds incredible, Vela. If you need any help, you know where to find me. Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's intercom, summoning Jack to the bridge. He excused himself, leaving Vela to her thoughts, and made his way through the corridors, the hum of the ship a comforting constant. On the bridge, he found Commander Thalix and T-Core deep in discussion over a holographic display. They looked up as Jack entered, their expressions a mix of anticipation and seriousness. Lieutenant Morrigan, Thalix began, gesturing for Jack to join them. We've received intelligence that the Drakulons are regrouping. They've been spotted near the Caloran expanse, and it's only a matter of time before they make another move. Jack nodded, absorbing the information. The Drakulons were relentless, their ability to adapt rivaling even the most resilient species. But Jack knew that with adaptability came vulnerability, and he was determined to exploit it. "What's the plan?" Jack asked, his mind already racing with possibilities. T-Core pointed to the holographic map, highlighting potential routes and strategies. "We believe they'll attempt to strike at one of our supply lines. If we can anticipate their movements, we might be able to set a trap." Jack studied the display, his thoughts returning to the lessons of Earth's past conflicts. "We need to think like them, use their predictability against them. If we can create a scenario where they believe they have the upper hand, we can turn the tables." Thalix considered Jack's suggestion, his eyes narrowing with interest. "You propose a feint?" "Exactly," Jack replied. "Lure them in with a target they can't resist, then hit them where it hurts." The plan took shape over the next few hours, the bridge buzzing with activity as the crew prepared for the upcoming engagement. Jack's influence was evident in every aspect of the strategy, his unique perspective guiding decisions and shaping tactics. As the Stellar Tempest set course for the Caloran expanse, Jack felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. The stakes were high, but he was confident in their ability to outmaneuver the Drakulons once more. Humanity's place among the stars was still being defined, but with every challenge they proved that adaptability and ingenuity were their greatest strengths. The stars stretched out before them, a vast tapestry of possibility, and Jack knew that whatever lay ahead, the Stellar Tempest and its crew were ready to meet it head-on.